And welcome once again. This is Late Night Parents. This is Ted Hicks. Happy to be back with you after a short break. And we do this with the best team that we have on the planet. In the room right now is none other than the amazing, illustrious Dr. Michelle Reed.
Hello, everyone. How are you all guys doing?
Dr. Reed, how are you?
I'm great.
That's wonderful.
Yes.
Are you having a good weekend? This wonderful weather we had today, it was beautiful outside.
We had an amazing weekend.
Well, how much running have you done today?
Today we didn't run. We went bike riding instead.
Oh, nice.
Ah, okay.
Nice.
Yes, we actually did, I think, about 15, 16 miles, Marcus and I.
Oh, excuse me. Okay.
It was gorgeous.
I was riding a bike of a different kind.
A motorcycle?
Yes. Mine had a motor, so
I didn't know you had a motorcycle.
Yeah. I almost rode it in today, too. I'll bring it in next time we have a little warmer weather. I'll ride it in.
Oh, great.
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
Also in the studio, Richie V.
That was Dr. Michelle talking to herself there in two different voices. What's going on, Teddy Ted?
Nothing. You guys need your own introduction, and
We'll introduce you, too.
Separate theme music. No. I'm not.
There we go.
I'm no one. I'm just
theme
here.
Music. I like the idea of theme music.
Yeah. So you can have.
I've been saying let's have some theme music.
I'm going to have some theme music for you, Brian. Brian was already like, I got something ready for you. Click.
No. Dr.
might
Michelle.
want to test his out.
Dr. Michelle has said for the last 3.5 months, they need their own theme music. They, meaning all of us. I like to say they.
Okay.
Because,
Royal plural.
Yes.
His Majesty. Ted Hicks.
No. Theodore.
Oh.
Theodore is your real name?
Yes.
I had no idea.
I was kind of keeping that a secret from you.
Oh.
Because it was where you would go with it. Oh, my goodness.
Sorry.
All right. No. It's okay. It's okay. Because, usually at work, we go back and forth, and I go, Richard C. Valdez.
Theodore J. Hicks.
There you go.
Not that his middle initial is J.
You just make up some stuff, I see.
We just use the middle initial of J for everyone.
Yes.
It's like an ongoing joke. But, Dr. Michelle and Rich, in the queue, we have none other than Ms. Mildred Muhammad. I think it's been about 15 years.
Yep.
Since we heard the story of John Allen Muhammad and the DC sniper. And I don't think much of America and abroad has heard, through one book, we heard somewhat of a story.
Right.
But there was a lot going on back then. Social media wasn't as prevalent. Mm-hmm. It was a different type of media delivering information to us. And there was a lot going on in the world of what she had to deal with in domestic abuse.
Mm-hmm. And that was one of the things I don't remember that really coming out as being a factor in any of this. Of course, we heard about what her husband did and, the young man who he co-opted into committing the crimes with him. We heard all of that story. But, until Ms. Muhammad wrote the book, we didn't really hear about, what happened with her and what happened with the children. Right.
And that's the most important part is what happened to the children. So in 2009, there was a memoir that was written called Scared Silent. And it was widely acclaimed. And guess what? She's back again for I'm Still Standing. So I'd like to welcome author, speaker, advocate, and survivor Mildred Muhammad. Mildred, how are you doing?
I'm doing good, Ted. How are you?
Pretty good. Mildred, also in studio we have Rich Valdez and Dr. Michelle Reed, and we are all happy to have you on the line.
Thanks for joining us.
Nice to meet all of you.
Yes.
Likewise.
Looking forward to speaking with you.
Yes, ma'am.
So we have the book here. I'm still standing, crawling out of the darkness into the light. I'm just going to go into allowing you to tell your story. I mean, because it's a story that a lot of people like to think they know, but it's even better to hear it from you. So
Okay.
we're just going to open the mic for you, Mildred.
Okay. Well, as you stated earlier, everyone knows about the crime that John committed. But what most people don't know is what law enforcement told me, which was I was the intended target. I had been running for my life for 2 years. I was in hiding. I changed my name. I had to change my clothes. I was living in a shelter. He had already taken the children out of the country. They say you can't call it kidnapping because you can't kidnap your own children. But they put the legal term of custodial interference. And because we had not successfully gone to court to determine who would get custody of the children, on a weekend visitation, he took them out of the country to Antigua. At that time, I didn't know where they were, but there were people around us who helped him to take them by giving him money and helping him to leave the country. And when I questioned them about it, they told me that they didn't know where they were. They actually said to me, well, you know, you need to just snap out of it. You're young. You can have more children. At least you just get to cook for one. So no one helped me to find them. He had already said that you have become my enemy, and as my enemy, I will kill you. So I didn't wait around to find out how he was going to do that. But none of my abuse was physical. 80% of victims do not have physical scars to prove that they're victims. And the first assault to domestic abuse and violence is a verbal assault. It's what I say to you, and it's how you interpret what I say. So most people don't look at that as abuse. Their comments are, well, you know, he just said a few things, suck it up and keep it moving. Or what did you do in order to make him treat you that way? It's always the victim that's being blamed, but no one wants to confront the abuser and ask him or her, why do you abuse? So while he was in Antigua, I was here in Washington State, living in a shelter, trying to figure out what to do to find my children. My mom became ill in Maryland, and my sister asked me to come and help to take care of her. So I left Washington State to come to Washington, D.C. area to help my mom. I went to the FBI to ask them to help me to find my children. And I told them that they were no longer in the country, which is a federal offense. My cousin is a private investigator, so he was the one that did the investigation to find out that they were no longer in the country. And I told the FBI that. So they took all my paperwork and they sent me a letter back and said, we're sorry, there's nothing we can do to help you, but since this is an ongoing case, we're going to refer you back to the FBI agency in Seattle. I called them and told them that I was running for my life, that John had kidnapped the children, and that they were no longer in the country. And he said, well, Ms. Muhammad, since we know he's looking for you, what we want to do is we want to put you in the middle of a parking lot and use you as a decoy. This way, we can lure him out. I said, excuse me, sir, it's going to be a headshot. You're not going to know which way the bullet is coming from. And he said, well, we're just trying to help you out. August the 30th is when I received a call from the executive director of the shelter I was living in, and she stated that they may have found my children, which they did, and I had to fly back for an emergency custody hearing to get them back. John tried to attack me in the courthouse, but we were able to get out to go get the children, and that night we came back to the D.C. area, landing at BWI. Fast forward to the shooting. They told us to look for 2 Caucasians in a white box truck. I was looking for that, and I was looking for John too. October the 23rd, ATF and the FBI knocked on my door, said I needed to come down to the police station to answer some questions. And it was at that time that they told me that they were going to name my ex-husband as the sniper. And they also told me that I was the intended target. So they went and got my children and my sister and brother-in-law and took us all to a hotel into protective custody until they found him. And that's a part of the story that a lot of people don't know.
That, I guess there are so many questions that, what you've said of the story so far brings up. My first question would be, when the authorities came to your home and told you that your husband was the gentleman behind this, and that it was all because of you, that as they were piecing it together, that all the killings across the country, and a lot of people don't remember, I think, that there were a number of killings in different states before they centered around the D.C. area. But once they told you that it was all basically a setup to make it look like your killing was just another out of all of those, were you surprised? Did this come as a shock to you? What was your feeling at that time?
At that time, John and I were divorced. We were divorced October 6th of 2000, and this took place in 2002. When they told me that, I was shocked. My head actually hit the table because I was in such disbelief. I just never imagined that he would do anything like that. I knew he was going to kill me. That was not a question in my mind. I didn't believe or think that he would include innocent people or create a diversion to cover up my murder, as the police put it. So we were divorced at the time all of this was happening.
I was going to say, as a mom, how old were your children at the time when this was going on? And most importantly, how are they now, knowing the history of everything, especially with you publishing 2 books? How are they dealing with everything now?
Well, they were 6, 7, and 9 at the time. They are 27, 24, and 25 now. They are doing great. Before I began speaking, I asked for their permission to speak about their dad because I felt that I needed to help other people, especially the 80% who don't have physical scars, to prove that they're victims, because so often people need to see physical pain before they will step up to help you. And they gave me the okay. They say, Mom, as long as you tell the truth, we don't have a problem with it. Throughout the whole process of writing both books, they were involved. They understood and knew what I was writing. I read a few sentences to them, and they were okay with it. Some things they didn't know, and we ventured more into a dialogue about it. I was unable to find counseling for them at the time, so I went to the library. I got a book on counseling, and I learned how to counsel me and my children myself. I created a safe place for them to discuss their dad without feeling that they would be judged or treated indifferent. I had to set up rules where they had to respect each other's opinion. They were not allowed to talk down to each other or to make one or the other feel that it was not okay for them to love and care and to love and to express their care for their dad. They needed a place to do that, and I was the best place that they had. I told them that I am your best resource for the good, the bad, and the indifferent about your dad. Aww. And even if it makes me look bad, I will tell you the truth. I did not then, nor do I now, speak badly to them about their dad, because he is their dad.
He's their dad, right. A couple of times you've alluded to people blaming you, victim blaming, through this whole ordeal. Could you give us a little more examples of, exactly how did people blame you? How could they point and make you the cause of this?
Well, they said once they found out that I was his ex, they said, well, if you would have stayed with him, he just would have killed you. If you would have stayed on the West Coast, then the people on the East Coast would still be alive. How dare you bring this drama into our quiet community? And how dare you call you and your children victims when none of you were hurt or killed?
See, as a complete outsider here, that doesn't make any sense to me at all.
Right, but people need somebody to blame. They never blame or hold accountable the abuser. Had to be something I did that made him snap or go off. Couldn't have been he made a decision to do this on his own. It's never that. Victims are always blamed for the abuser's behavior, and no one is responsible for someone else's behavior.
That's true, and that's something that everyone needs to understand, because even as a physician, I've had patients who have been domestic violence victims, and a majority of them, like you were saying, has been the verbal abuse. But what's even sadder is when it's the physical abuse, they always feel that it's something that they did wrong. And if I could just make him happy, I must have cooked something. I must have messed up the food. The kids must have been loud. I must have not made the bed properly. So I'm glad that you've stepped out and you've not really considered yourself to be, quote unquote, a victim, because it sounds like you really have come out on top of all of the situation, because your children, from what you're saying, are doing quite well emotionally, because this is a serious thing that happened to you. And of course, the victims that were affected, because I even remember that my parents were coming from, I think, South Carolina, and they were delayed in their travel coming back because there was a sniper attack that had just happened somewhere along 95. And
yes,
I remember we just stayed up and we were praying and we were watching TV that they would make it home safely.
Most times when you hear victims say, I must have done this wrong, I must have said something wrong, maybe the food wasn't cooked right, it is because a seed has been planted by the abuser, and the more he waters or she waters that seed, the greater it becomes, and then the self-doubt, the self-esteem starts to go, start to feel that there's no way I'm going to get out of this, and that's where suicide come in. Because if I can't get out of this, if I can't get somebody to help me, if I can't go to my family and friends and express to them that I need help, then my next recourse, most of the time, it's suicide, because I can't get out. Nobody is going to believe me. And when I go to my family and friends, and although I've been to you 4 and 5 times, you turn away. You say, I've helped you already. When are you going to leave? Why you keep putting up with that? But you don't understand that the abuser is very clever. Most of the victims' families will take the side of the abuser over the victim. Now, how does that make her feel or him feel? You like my abuser more than you love me? I grew up here, and you choosing them over me? That happens.
Yes, it becomes a very lonely situation, because you would think that your friends and your family would understand what you're going through, and they would want to help you.
Well, they want to help, but they want to help you the way they want to help you. So it's still a control.
Yes.
So if you want to help someone that's a victim of domestic violence and you don't know what to do, then this is what I have in my book. Take this person to lunch, not dinner. But before you do that, check yourself. Set up your boundaries. What you will do, what you won't do, what you can't do. You answer those 3 questions. Will I give them money? Can they come stay with me? Am I going to drive them? Should I go in the middle of the night to pick them up? All of these scenarios need to be played out before you ask that court, before you take them to lunch. You're taking them to lunch because that's a time where their time is not checked. Everybody goes to lunch. Mm-hmm. Dinner, not a good time because you don't know if their time is being tracked or how long you've been gone. Then you may set up a scenario where the person will be harmed once they get home. So you take them to lunch. And then you ask this question. Don't ask, what's going on? You're wasting time. And that's a frivolous question because you already know. Right? So the question you ask, because now you have your boundaries in place, is, how can I help you?
Right.
Don't go any further. Don't say, well, I can do this and I can do that. Don't give them an out. Let this person decide how you can help them. They may be a little shocked when you ask that question because no one has taken the time to ask. Every victim knows what they need to get out. No one asks the question, how can I help you? You'll tell me what to do. You'll tell me how to do it. You'll tell me I need to leave, but you won't ask me, how can you help me? Once I tell you, you can decide then if that's something you can do. I never advocate for anyone to put themselves in harm's way trying to help your friend or family. If you're married, you should discuss it with your spouse to get them on board, and then you can decide together how or to what length are you willing to help this person. If you feel you can't do anything, at least give them a resource. The resource I would suggest is domesticshelters.org because that is national, and you can plug in your state and your city, and you will have resources, shelters, and other legal information that can help you in your state. This is pretty new. It's about 2 or 3 years old, but it's constantly growing. Now, once you've done this, and they don't have an answer, because they may not, just say, when you're ready, just let me know. You just saved a life. You just gave that person hope. You just made them feel, I got somebody on my side. I don't have to go back feeling that I'm isolated and I'm all alone, because that's what happens most of the time. And then when you hear about it, well, I remember she told me that, but I didn't know because you didn't ask. I didn't know it was that serious. You didn't ask. I thought, but you didn't ask.
I was going to say,
it doesn't hurt to ask.
You ask, but sometimes you don't listen, or you don't necessarily want the answer or the true answer that the victim is going to say to you, too.
Because you haven't put your boundaries in place.
Right. Mm-hmm. You have to be prepared. You have to prepare
yourself.
You've
got to be prepared for the answer.
For the answer.
If you're not willing to open that door, don't ask the question.
We're speaking with Mildred Muhammad. This is Late Night Parents. Mildred, final question is, what are you doing now?
Well, I help other victims and survivors who contact me through Facebook, email. I mainly travel, speaking engagements at different organizations. I'm going to Fort Stewart and Fort Benning in October to speak to the military community on domestic violence, PTSD, suicide. 22 soldiers a day commit suicide, and we don't even know about that. 58,000 children are turned over to abusive fathers, documented abusive fathers in the courts, and it's sanctioned to do that. So we have a lot of work to do, but there are a lot of people in pain, and a lot of people don't know how to express their pain. And sometimes if we don't pay attention to the seeds that are dropped from people who are in pain, we won't hear about it until they commit suicide. So I'm just trying to help people to get from living in a world of pain to understand that there's a world of peace that they can live in, like where me and my children live. If someone tells a victim that they'll always be a victim, that's not true. You'll never get over it. That's not true. It takes a lot of work. It takes a lot of emotional work, but you can get through it. I advocate journaling because you got to get that pain out of your head and put it on paper so you can see your pain. We are visual people. If I don't see my pain, then my pain does not exist. Once you see all the pain you're going through emotionally, it's like the root of your pain is the core of an onion. As you peel back those layers, you deal with the pain within each layer, and eventually you'll get to the core. You dig it up, you look at it, you deal with it, and then you move on. And then you'll never cry over that pain again. And that's how I've been able to help me and my children to get through all of this. Because I told them, you're not going to use your dad as an excuse for failure. Right. And I'm not going to, so you got to find another reason to tell me you can't make it. My son is an assistant manager at Helzberg Diamonds. Both of my daughters attended college. They're classically trained, and they sing classical music in 8 different languages. They've started their own group, and it's called Two Music, so you'll be hearing from them pretty soon. So, I mean, we're all good. They know how to point out their emotion, look it up in the dictionary, find the one that identifies or resonates with their spirit as to which type of pain they're dealing with, and then they handle it. Because you got to know why you're in that kind of pain before you can deal with that kind of pain. You got to know what you're guilty about before you can say, I won't be guilty anymore. You got to go know why that tear is falling so you can say, I won't be crying anymore. But I won't tell anybody not to cry because every tear drop is one step closer to your pain. So cry as often as you need to, but just know that in the end, you're going to be okay.
Mildred, to continue this conversation online, what are the best ways, if any of our listeners are domestic violence victims, ways to reach out to you, ways to receive help?
The best way to contact me, because I travel, is through my email, and that's afterthetrauma@yahoo.com, AFTERTETHETRAUMA@yahoo.com. And I will do all that I can to help you. I answer all emails within 24 hours because I don't want anybody to feel like they're waiting on a call that didn't come, because that happened to me a lot. So I won't do that to anybody.
And on Facebook and Twitter, we're following you as Mildred Muhammad, and your website, mildredmuhammad.com, is also another wonderful resource that we can use. We want to thank you for joining us tonight, for sharing your heartfelt story and experiences. And we hope to be in contact with you sometime again in the future to find out the latest on what's going on with you and your book tour and everything else.
Yes, sir. Sounds good. Well, I put all of my events on my website, so if you go to my website, mildredmuhammad.com, then you'll be able to see where I am and what I'm doing.
Perfect.
Sounds good.
Mildred, thank you so much.
Thank you very much for being on the show.
Thank you. It was a pleasure speaking with you.
Thank you for having me, Richard and Dr. Michelle.
Thank you.
Thank you. Take care.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Wow. I never knew that aspect of the story.
No.
At all.
Yeah. I found out it was different back when, if we think about it, the way media is delivered nowadays versus how it was 15, 16 years ago, we were waiting for CNN or, whatever cable news, and whatever they gave us, that was it. And we accepted it. Well, I know I accepted it back then. I don't know about you guys.
There was nothing else to do.
That's true. There was no Twitter, because Twitter, everything gets tweeted as soon as it happens.
Yes.
Wow. That's all I can say.
Yeah, I'm still shocked that
heavy,
people tried to blame her.
story.
That just doesn't make sense.
I mean, because even if she stayed in Washington State, who says that the same thing could have happened there? It might have.
Right. It's it does sound like he was tracking her down, and this was all intentional. So, what do you say about that?
I don't know.
But I'm glad that she has been able to survive it and just as importantly, help her children to survive this.
And also share her story with others.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, also many times I think you would probably see it the most, Dr. Michelle, if someone has, certain traits and they're coming in and, most of the time those are people in need.
Right.
Yes.
In need of some type of help and they don't know what to do. And
Yes.
I another thing I pulled from this conversation is, what do you do when you run into a person like this? You're like, okay, I want to help you. I want to help. And
I guess the best thing, like she said, is be prepared to know what help you can provide.
right.
So that you say, what can I do to help? And they come at you with X, Y, Z, and you're like, well, I wasn't prepared for that.
Right.
So I guess that makes sense. And I guess, like she mentioned, as long as someone knows that there is help available, that would make all the difference, I guess.
But a lot of people, I will say, would somewhat be in denial, too, that it's actually going on. Because I remember one of my first patients that I was exposed to who was a victim was in the emergency room. And she had the imprint of a sneaker on the side of her face. And I said to her, what happened to you? And she said, I just tripped going down the stairs. And I said, okay, you tripped going on down the stairs. I said, why do you have the imprint of a sneaker on the side of your face? Oh, no, I don't. No, I don't. No, I don't. And I had to grab a mirror to show it to her. And then she just broke down crying because she felt that she can just go ahead and just say whatever. And I would believe her, not realizing that the physical damage that was done to her face. And of course, she had the mental damage, which no telling how deep this was going.
Right. Wow.
So it's a real issue that needs to continue to be addressed.
I guess as we segue from that topic, I see Dr. Michelle is wearing a bright orange shirt.
I wish I had known. I would have worn mine. And I'm sure Ted would have worn his as well.
I thought that everybody, if we're going to talk about the JFK recap, we have to have a group picture with the shirts on.
Speaking of group pictures, you didn't take the picture today.
Yeah.
All right, well, afterwards, we'll get it before the show is over. Didn't take the picture.
Well, you guys weren't wearing your JFK runway T-shirts.
Don't put that on that.
So since you weren't wearing the T-shirts, there was no picture.
You said no picture. Okay. All right. That's your story, and you're sticking to it.
But I thank you all for coming out and supporting us at the JFK runway run.
So much fun. Ted had a sprint before the actual run.
Oh, he did?
Yes.
To the bathroom?
No, to the bus. That's right. We didn't get a chance to discuss that. Ted needs to thank another young lady who was late because they stopped the bus for her. It was about to pull off. The driver's like, I gotta go. He's closing the door. And she gets on, and they're like, wait, there's one more. And I see Ted and Nemo running. It's like, so he would have missed it had it not been for the other lady who was late. He was sweaty. He got his sprint on. He was good, though. I got it. I did it. Thank you.
The only thing that I remember is of the three, and I think I have, I do have the info on it. I think I beat Rich your time and Dr. Michelle's time for the 5K.
What do you mean you beat my time?
I beat both of your time. I made it around the 5K in a faster time than both of you.
That's his story, and he's sticking to it.
That's my story.
What part of the 5K are you talking about?
The entire 5K, I beat your time.
So
remember?
I have to hear this. So Ted?
No, I'm just saying because
how did you beat our time?
Because most of the politicians, they give you some crazy story and then they just roll with it, and everyone just goes, "Okay,
alternate
no problem."
facts.
That's a serious alternate fact.
Dr. Michelle blew by everybody. I was like, "Wait, what? That blur up there? That's Dr. Michelle."
Yeah, but I thought we were walking. I thought we were.
I did walk.
And then I was looking for my son, so I took a few steps back.
And Nemo was up ahead.
And he was ahead, and it's just.
But
I don't know.
So this will be the page out of Dr. Michelle's book. It's not important who came in first or last.
Right.
What's important is that we all were there to support, and we all did the 5K together.
Yes.
Oh, we did.
But that's
We
true.
did.
So it's true. And had a good time.
Yes, and it's going to be an annual event that the three of us
I'll
will
be
do.
there next year. I'll be there. No problem.
And then, of course, we're going to invite the listening audience,
Everyone
too.
is invited. For sure.
Mm-hmm.
Of course. Now that we know, I've never been to one of those events before.
That was my first one.
I mean, you're the only pro, and you didn't explain, how you should have. We were thinking...
I understand. You thought there was only going to be about 100 people there.
See, that was okay with that, because, of course, having heard from Linda so many times, I was prepared for that.
No, he thought there was only going to be 100 people. Just my patience and my friends and a couple of staff members. I understand. He didn't realize that there were other people who were actually signed up, too.
So how many people were there all told?
I don't know. I think there was a little over 1,000.
Yeah.
And from our
it
group,
was.
we had over 100 because a lot of people registered on site.
Right.
So just showed up and came, which was good
No,
when
it
you
was-
think about
it
it,
was a
because
nice
it was the
amount.
beginning of spring break
Mhm.
and
Right.
it was Palm Sunday too.
Right.
So that
It was
took
a double whammy.
yes, a lot of people out of the picture. But
Gotcha.
it was a gorgeous day.
It was perfect weather for that, because no one could get overheated, really. It was a little brisk. Sunny.
I was overdressed.
Yes, you were. Well, I had a couple of layers on, too. It was cold.
was.
that
Are you going to
morning.
blame that on us?
Well, no, I can't blame you guys. If I could, I would, but I was overdressed.
Yeah, it got warm pretty quickly.
Yeah,
Once you
like
started
2 or
moving.
3 different layers, and I was
Yeah.
just like, well, wait a minute. I see people out there just with shorts on. I'm like,
The pros.
yeah, the pros. All right.
Had a great time, though. Thank you for inviting us.
No problem. Look forward to next year.
I'll be there.
Bigger and better.
Start practicing this year.
No, it's not
Already?
practice. It's called training.
Okay,
You're
training.
doing those 5
Training.
days. Come on, kid.
Mm-hmm.
Get out
Training this year.
Mhm.
So next year,
there. You're in.
well, I'm going to be in anyway, but I'm just saying, just to be able to beat both of you guys.
But I think it's a
25.
great idea because that will help to jumpstart your exercise routine.
Right.
There it
That's
is.
true. That's true. Okay. We're going to do that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm sticking to it.
Have you done anything since the 9th? Because that's something that we need to discuss.
Right.
We did the run on the 9th,
Yep.
and that was supposed to jumpstart the exercise.
And then I did the same thing on the 10th, and I did the same thing on the 11th, and I did the same thing on the 14th, and I did the same thing on the 15th.
You ran?
Wow.
I did the 5Ks. I did anyway.
Oh, okay.
Oh, see?
Okay.
See?
Okay.
You see how he rubbed that in, Theodore?
Yes. Yes.
No, it wasn't rubbing it on
Yes,
you. She
yes.
gave it look like,
I know. She was just like,
what do you mean?
What do you mean you ran?
Oh.
I didn't say I ran. I do the speed walk. I will never claim that I go out there and run, but I do a run walk now. So
That's awesome.
okay.
Ah,
So
okay.
one's down.
Okay.
So maybe next
So
time.
I've done some walking. No speed walking.
That's all right.
Just regular walking.
And it doesn't really count when you're commuting to the city right now.
Oh,
No.
okay.
Because I know you are not breaking a sweat going to and from work, even if you're quote unquote running to catch the train. We have
That's not fair. That's a run.
no, we have to up the ante.
I tried.
Yeah, I know.
We have to set the example for our listening audience.
All right. I'm with you. I'm
That's
with you
fair.
on that. But no, seriously, had a really great time.
He said no, seriously. He
He's like, let's put that one under the mat
I
here.
thought we were being very serious here. No, seriously.
No,
Okay.
I did.
That was
I
good.
really enjoyed it. I'm
That's fine. I
Really
understand
looking
you don't want
forward.
to talk about it anymore.
No, I do. What was so great was the amount of people that I knew out there.
The Mayor Ted, walking around
No,
and sees
that's
your crew and
because
it's like,
of-
oh, well, yes, because of the good doctor. This
Of
is true.
course,
Oh.
people were like, "Oh, wait." Just because I was affiliated with the event, people then said, "Wait, I know you." But I know you because you do a show with Dr. Michelle.
Ah.
There you go.
Who said that?
We'll leave that as is as we segue to the next segments. All right, this is
gosh.
Late Night Parents, and
We're having a good time here.
yes, we are. Yes, we are.
Without the theme music.
Without the theme
Oh,
music, we're fine.
I'm not
We're
going to have it.
fine.
I don't think I'll have the theme music for next week, but there will be theme music for each of us the week after that. and you're not going to know it until Brian hits the button.
Oh, that's perfect. That's perfect. I do have a question for... There was a hot topic we were going to cover this week. Dr. Michelle, we'll push it back to next week.
Oh, we can talk today.
We can talk today?
Of course, we can always talk.
You sure? Because we're about to run short on time. But...
No, but if you feel that we're going to run short in time, we can always talk about it another time. But I think now that people are outside and starting their exercise routine, increasing their walking, Theodore.
Okay.
I think it's important that we talk about protecting your skin.
She called you Theodore.
Yeah, I know. Because you started that. Protecting your skin. Protecting your skin. You tell me.
Very important.
Protecting your skin. And I think I saw something on the Today Show. You guys watch the Today Show?
No.
Hardly ever.
No? What are you guys doing in the morning?
During the week?
Getting
on the train to go to work?
In the morning, I'm usually trying to get the kids out the house and do a little exercise.
Oh, okay.
Train a bit.
Okay. All right. I mean, I don't know.
It's a no-win situation for you today, buddy.
No. Well, tell us about melanoma.
Well, melanoma is common but not common. It is one of the types of cancer of your melanocytes. And the thing about it, there's like over 87,000 people who have been diagnosed with it usually annually. But the thing is it's not a common cancer, but it can metastasize. So this segment that you saw on the Today Show talked about a young woman who had a lesion on her shoulder that ended up metastasizing, and she died shortly after giving birth, and she ended up giving birth early. The thing is that they're talking about one of the risk factors is if you have what your body is immunosuppressed. That's one of the rare things that can happen where your immune system doesn't function the way it should. And the dermatologist that they had spoken to, who was not involved in her case, had mentioned that as a result of her being pregnant, her body might have seen that as an immune compromised situation, and therefore that allowed the cancer to spread a lot more aggressively as opposed to if she wasn't pregnant.
Interesting.
And it can metastasize. That's one of the cancers that does. It's very, very aggressive. Matter of fact, I've seen a couple of cases in practice where it has gone to the lungs, to the brain, and it's a major thing to look at. And that's why it's so important that you protect your skin.
Right.
Because growing up, I know none of us really used any type of sunblock at all.
No.
My mother was a nurse. Yeah. I was shiny and slippery jumping into the pool.
Oh, gosh. So you're one of the few.
Yeah.
But
sure.
Majority of us, there was no type of skin protection at all. And that's something that we need to make sure that we're instilling in our children to put on the sunblock before you head outside. And if you're in the pool or if you're at the beach or you're out playing basketball or you're doing any type of physical activity, if you start to sweat, dry up and put on some more, because you're increasing the likelihood, if you don't cover up, of having some type of cancer. A lot of times when we look at our skin, we are not trained, when I say we, I'm talking about the average person, to recognize any type of abnormality. So if we see something, we're like, oh, it's okay, but we need to know the A, B, C, D, and E of checking your skin. But first and foremost, if you see anything that you suspect is abnormal, make an appointment to see the dermatologist. That's the main thing.
Okay.
And A is any type of asymmetry of the lesion. B is to check the borders. You want to see if there's any type of irregular borders, because if there's irregular borders, that could be abnormal. C is circumference. It should be smaller than the size of a eraser, but there are cases where melanoma is smaller than the size of an eraser. D is diameter. You want to make sure it's not an extremely large diameter. And E is evolving. It's getting worse. It's changing. So it's A, B, C, D, and E that you want to make sure that you're watching out for. If you have a family history of melanoma, that increases the likelihood of you having melanoma. And it happens 20 times more common in whites than blacks. But even African Americans can get it, and usually it's in unusual places like fingernails, toes, fingers, hands, but it can occur in any part of the body.
Okay.
And in men, it's usually like the back, the shoulders, the chest, and in females, it's usually the legs.
Interesting. So now it's funny. I mean, you mentioned how quickly it can metastasize, but it doesn't always. So is that why you'll hear, people say, "Oh yeah, I went to the doctor and had something removed," and they just have a little Band-Aid on, and the doctor cut off whatever was there, but that's the end of it, hopefully.
Yes,
right?
It can be. But then there are other types of cancers that can occur. But melanoma is the one that happened to this young lady,
right,
that you saw on the TV show, and that's one of the ones that really, when it metastasizes, it's serious.
So what would you say to all those out there that go into these tanning salons and sit there under the lights for whatever minutes on end?
UV exposure is one of the risk factors, and you need to stop going to the tanning salons.
Mm-hmm. You remember that mother a few years ago
who was
extensively
yes.
like, and I think at one point she was putting her child,
yep,
exposing her child to it, and it was just like, ugh.
Yeah,
you only hope that nothing comes of that.
Yeah, you have to be very careful. Very, very careful. If anything, you want to change your color, you can do a little spray tan.
Wear that SPF 10,000 and...
Oh, my goodness.
Or just use a little bronzer.
A little bronzer.
Mm-hmm.
A little color here and there.
Yeah. You have to be careful.
As we get ready to close out, this is Late Night Parents with Dr. Michelle, Rich, and Ted. Rich, I'm going to say 2 words to you.
Uh-oh, here we go.
4 avatars.
4.
Not
just the one we already have. From
4.
2009.
Yes.
4. James Cameron says, the first one still holds the record for the most profitable film ever. He always planned on there being at least the one sequel, and
right.
I was like, nah, I have too much here. We'll make it a trilogy. Nah, I still have too much here. Quadrilogy. 4. 2020, 2022, and 2023. That's the plan.
And then 2025?
No, that's it. So the first one still counts as the first of the
4.
Oh,
okay.
There's not 4 more.
Oh, okay.
There's 3 more after, the one
perfect.
we already have.
So between the next one is 2020.
2020.
From 2009.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. And, there was, I was reading something about that. There was a lot of debate initially because one of the other production company heads said, we're going to start releasing movies for people at home the same day they're released in the theaters. And Cameron's like, not with mine, you're not. We're not doing that. This is going to be a theater presentation. It's made for the theater, made for the experience, and it's going to blow you away.
Right.
So I'm looking forward to it. Because if he's saying that now, I mean, what, is this going to be like 8K, 16 channels down, 32 channels down? They're going to have to design theaters for this movie. I can see him trying to do something like that. And that's okay. I'm good with that.
Oh, okay. I guess we go around the table. What are each of us doing this upcoming week? Dr. Michelle?
This week, Dr. Michelle.
I am getting ready to go into my birthday week. My birthday month. I'm sorry.
I was going to say, I thought I remembered putting
birthday
that on my
month.
calendar.
That's what we're getting ready to start. I celebrate throughout the entire month of May. So anytime you want to celebrate with me, just let me know.
And you're there.
We have the entire month of May.
Okay.
I do have a few speaking engagements, in May.
Okay.
But I will definitely make the time.
To celebrate your birthday.
That's right. With my favorite host.
See?
Mm-hmm.
She worked that
Theodore
way.
and Rich.
I'm sorry, man. Really.
Oh gosh.
Richie V, what do you have going on?
This week will be a very interesting week because our friends at Home Depot I'm one of many being invited to go down to the Home Depot headquarters in Atlanta, and we're going to see. It's going to be a few things. One, we're going to look at the headquarters and see how they decide what tools to sell. I think we're going to see how they evaluate the tools, the whole purchasing process. And one of the other things which I'm really, really interested in is one of the days it's a 3-day event. It's a half day Tuesday, all day Wednesday, and half day Thursday. I believe it's on Wednesday. We are going to assist some veterans, 4 different homes. We're going to help build their homes.
Oh, wow.
It's a whole volunteer effort put forth by Home Depot, bringing it back and giving back to the community. So I am definitely looking forward to this. I'll have something to write up about and to talk about next time.
That'll be nice.
That's perfect.
You should have invited me. I'm Tool Belt Diva. Why are you choking?
You got him all choked up. What about you, Ted? What will you be doing this week?
I will be working the entire week, as usual, because
someone won't be around. Huh?
Certain people won't be around. But Tuesday, I'm heading to Yonkers.
Oh, okay.
Consumer Reports, their main office, to speak with a few folks there and see all that they have to offer. And Thursday, I will be working with some of our friends at Verizon because there's an IPTV service they're going to be releasing. Check the website tomorrow.
Okay.
We'll have more information on it. But other than that, we'll go round robin. Best ways to get in contact with you guys?
Well, the best way to reach me is www.fitdoc.com. That's fitdoc.com. And you can also follow me on Facebook, Dr. Michelle C. Reed, and on Twitter at AskDR Michelle with 1 L. And the office number is 516-794-2200, extension 8. And that's MS Family. We are family medicine. We see the entire family with 2 locations, Garden City and Rosedale, New York.
Awesome. And for me, I have a change up. On Facebook, you can still get me, and you'll always get me as facebook.com/TheRealRichieV. On Twitter, I will now be known as Late Night Rich, at Late Night Rich.
Wait a second.
You thought I was just, kind of imposing and impersonating myself.
Yes.
Gotta put the brand forward.
You really did.
So, Late Night Rich.
You are stepping up your game, man.
I'm trying. Gotta do what you gotta do.
Okay.
So
big changes. That's why we're going to have that theme music.
Big changes. And you can catch me as The Real Ted Hicks across multiple platforms. Happy to be back in the studio this week and also with next week. And that's about it.